Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in Northern California. I'm so excited to bring you this class today. I just got done teaching it for the San Rafael Public Library. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that we're going to need for class. I'll be working with a Micron PN pen, a white gel pen. I have the Mizu Love here, but you can also use Sakura's white jelly roll or the Signo Uniball white pen. White graphite pencil, just a regular pencil will do. I'll be working with Prismacolor pencils. These are my favorite. Now remember, if you don't have the same color pencils as me, don't worry about it. You can just get into the same hue and we'll be just fine for the class. This is PC 1009 Dahlia Purple. Cerulean Blue, which is the PC 904. Grass Green, PC 909. Lime Peel Green, PC 1005. Yellowed Orange, which is PC 1002. Cadmium Orange, which is PC 118. And then finally, I love to work with the white Prismacolor pencil because it's great for blending your colors and really getting a nice finish on your piece. This is PC 938. Now the tile that I'm going to be working with today, I have at the Tangled Yogi shop here, and you can go to tangledyogi.com and check out the shop. This is the Genesis tile, and it's super smooth and great for receiving color pencils. Now if you don't have the tile, you can always grab your favorite sketchbook and make a square that's 4.5 by 4.5 and go ahead and tangle along with me. However, the longer you get to tangling, the more you're going to want to give these away as gifts. So later on, maybe you go and check out tangledyogi.com and invest in some really good paper. With that said, we're going to get started with class, and I do have a special meditation for you all. We went hiking this morning and saw beautiful wildflowers here in Sonoma County, and I thought I would share it with you. So let's get started. So let's begin by taking a comfortable seated position here. You can see that I'm out here in Sonoma County, and I thought I would share this beautiful lake that we're hiking to here in Sonoma. And let your feet touch down onto the floor. Allow your spine to grow tall. And if you're comfortable with it, allow your hands to rest in your lap. And take a moment to land in your space, noticing the sounds that you hear, and then allowing your awareness to drop in on your breath. As you breathe in, feeling the body expand, and as you breathe out, feeling the body release. Breathing in, body expanding, and as you exhale, feeling the body release again. And one more time, breathing in, full body breath, and exhaling and releasing. And so before we begin our class today, setting an intention. Why have you come to practice Zentangle? Is it a chance to take care of yourself? Maybe a little time out from a busy day? Or maybe you've come here to learn something new. Acknowledging your intention here, and then letting it go. Taking in a nice deep breath, and slowly exhaling it out. And let's begin our Zentangle practice. Okay, so we're going to begin, and we're going to begin by creating a border for our piece here. So you're going to see me come to each each part of the square, and right in the center I'm going to make a dot so that I know where the center is. This is just to help us to build the border here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to start by creating these really nice arc lines that are going to connect to each other. So you're going to see me come from this middle point to this middle point. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to arc, and I'm just going to make a really soft arc that's just going to go from each corner, and you can see that what I'm going to get is almost the arc of a circle. I'm making this a little bit heavier so that you can see it on your screen here. So I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm just going to go from this point to this point and I'm creating a nice arc. And I'll just go ahead and make it a little bit darker so that you can see it. And really what we're doing is just creating these really nice soft arcs. And I'm working with my pencil, my Zentangle pencil, as you can see. And I'm just going to go to the next one and do the same. So it's just a really nice soft arc. And you can eyeball this. Now if you're a perfectionist, I want you to try to let that go and just see this for what it is. So we've got these really nice triangular arcs in each corner, and all I've done is just connected my dots. Okay? So really keeping it simple here. My circle isn't perfect, and I imagine that your circle isn't either. So going with that, that is what's going to create this beautiful border that we have now. So go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we're going to start to build our string. So you can see that I've gone and divided the space so that I have these 4 quadrants that I'm going to be working in here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with a really fun tangle that a lot of tanglers learn right in the beginning, and this is called Bales. And Bales is a wonderful tangle because it has a flower-like quality to it. So a lot of the time you'll see Bales as almost like a daisy chain. So people will take Bales and they'll go and do a daisy chain, and then they'll turn it on its side and they'll daisy chain through it, which is really a beautiful tangle. And it's going to be the basic part of our tangle today. Now, Bales, if you continue it, you get these really nice circular meta tangles that are really great too. But what we're going to be focusing on is just the flower of Bales. And the reason why we're focusing on that is because we want it to have this kind of centralized area in the middle of the tangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by actually putting a little circle right smack in the center, and you can see that I'm using my pencil here, and I've got my circle, and now I'm going to start to do Bales. So you're going to see me come away from the center about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter, and I'm going to start with that leaf-like shape. I'll come down to the other side, and then I'm going to turn my piece and I'm going to do it again. And then I'll go to the other side and do the same. Now I know you might be thinking in your mind, why is she working in pencil still? She's tangling. But actually this is part of the string that we're building here. Okay? So what I'm going to do is now in between these pieces here, I'm going to also start to build out another set of Bales. So I'll come over here, coming over to the other side, and then one more time right over here. Now you can see that I've tried to make my flowers all about the same size. Now if yours are slightly off, don't worry about it. We're working in pencil, so you can change it if you need to. Okay, so maybe in here, if you felt like this one needed to be a little bit longer, you could come in and make it a little bit longer, but it's not really something that I'm going to be perfectionistic about. So once we have that, we're going to start to build out a little bit more. And for this part of the piece, what we're going to do is we're going to go from the tips of each of these bales, and we're going to work outwardly towards the edge of the circle. And so what this is going to look like is I'm going to come from this point right here, and I'm going to start to build a triangle that's a narrow triangle, and I'm going to let it dance right back to the last point. Okay, so I'm going to come to the next one and I'm going to do the same. So I'm just going to go straight out, create my triangle, and dance back to the next point. Coming back in and back to the center. I'm going to turn again, coming out and back in. I can disregard that line there. I'm just working with my points here. So just working with your points. Coming out, dropping in, coming to the next one. So all we're doing is drawing a triangle from one point to the next. And then here comes the final one. So you can see that now I have this really fun star that has emerged just from that flower. Okay? So let's go ahead and pick up our Micron pens here. I'm going to be working with the Micron PN pen. You can work with whatever PN you like or pen that you like. I'm going to be working with this one today, and I'm just going to start right from the center and do what we call an overdraw. So I'm going to come right into the center and do the circle. And then I'll go ahead and I'll work with my petals. And this is where if you need to make any changes to the sizes of your petals, you can. Just turning the tile. And once again, coming around. And then I'll be inking in just the triangles. So you can see that I'm just going to come from this point and touch, and this point and touch. So just the triangles now. Keeping your shoulders nice and soft. If you're holding your breath, allow the breath to be smooth and even, meeting the challenge with an open heart. And there you have it. So there's the beginning of our tangle. Take your time with that. Notice that I didn't touch any of the dividing pieces, just the triangles. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start to do some more tangling. So I'm going to pick up my scratch piece of paper here and we're going to talk about the next set of tangles. So many of you are familiar with Crescent Moon, but if you're new to Zentangle, Crescent Moon is also one of the first tangles that you might learn. And so Crescent Moon is basically what you think it is. It's a half moon here, and then you're creating an aura around it and then another aura around it. So it kind of looks like a crescent moon. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back into the piece here and we're going to start to add crescent moon into the piece. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in here. And just around these petals in here, not up in the triangles, but down in the petals, that's where we're going to start to build this. So I'm going to come in and you're going to see me, I'm going to be about halfway down into the petals here, and I'm going to do a crescent moon, and then I'm going to do an aura, and then one more aura. And then I'll go again. So I'm going to go to the next one. Now I'm looking for where this one started, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. So it's just 1, 2, and then I'm going to do that last one right out there. So I'm looking for where they're lining up. Coming to the next part, 1, 2, 3, and moving on. Coming to the next one, 1, 2, and 3. Looking to the next one, 1, 2, 3. And just being mindful of where you're bringing your pen down and creating your auras. Really nice and soft. And last one right here. And you can see that that develops a really nice meta pattern going all the way around. So go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine. And then when we come back, we're going to add a tangle right here inside of our triangles. One of my favorite tangles was created by one of my favorite tanglers, Hani Nura, and she has a tangle called Sistar. And I love this tangle. It has so many elements from Zentangle that are really useful in it. So what this is going to look like is you're going to start by just making 2 tear-like shapes. And then you're going to connect the shapes. And then coming down from the top, we're going to create an aura that goes around. And then you're going to see me do a second one, and I'll do another one on the other side. So we're going to take the elements of this Zentangle that we have here and put it into a triangular-like shape. So it's going to come out a little bit differently. Now, to finish off Sistar, what she does is she creates these little arcs on either side, and that's beautiful too. So there's a tangle for you to put into your toolbox, Sistar, but we're going to do it just a little bit differently today. So for our specific class today, what we're going to do is we're going to take this tangle and we're going to put it into our triangles that we have here. So what this is going to look like is instead of doing a double-sided, we're going to do a single-sided one. So I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to come down from the top and I'm going to actually make a diamond-like shape Sistar this time. And I'll come down just like so. Now remember how she did the aura on the side, so I'm just going to come in and I'm going to do an aura. And I'm going to do an aura over here. Now up at the top, I'm also going to add an aura, just like so. So we're taking the elements of that tangle, but we're changing the shape just a little bit. I'm going to come to the next one and I'm going to do the same. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come down from the top. Now I'm thinking about how I did the last one and I'm going to try to make the next one similar to it. So there's my little shape. So before we did a leaf-like shape, and this time we're doing a diamond shape. And then we're dropping it in towards the center. And then we're going to do an aura on this side. And then we're going to do an aura on this side. Once I have that, I can come up to the top and do an aura up at the top as well. Let's do it again. Coming over to the next one, thinking about where these are at, and then dropping down to center, and then coming in on the side and creating an aura, coming in on the side and creating the aura, and then once we have that, coming up to the top and doing the same. Turning and dropping in again, once again creating that V, coming down through the center, creating an aura, and another aura right there, and then once again coming to the next one. What I love about these repetitious tangles is that you can really get into the groove. And so when I go ahead and zoom out, look at how beautiful that star is. Super fun and really, really going to be great to work with in terms of using color. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to introduce another tangle. Okay, so let's bring back in our scratch piece of paper here. And we're going to work with the tangle flux, and many of you who have been with me for a while know that I use this tangle quite a bit, and flux is just an upside down teardrop inside of a piece here. Now in this particular piece we're going to be doing a cluster of them together, so we're going to bring back in our piece here. And we're going to come to these negative spaces that are around our star. And you can see that I've kept my little line here as a dividing line. Now it's kind of slightly off in the middle of that triangle, so I'm going to do my best to work with this. If you want to go ahead and erase yours, you're welcome to do that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up from the bottom here, and I'm going to go up, create a narrow upside down teardrop, and then drop right back down in again. Now to create the cluster of tears here, we're going to go ahead and just come up off the side, let it touch the edge of the circle, and drop back in again. So we're basically using the line from the last to build it. I'm going to come right in over here and do the same thing. Coming over here, and I think I can fit maybe one more in there. And there you have it. I'm going to go to the other side and do the same. So 1, 2, and you can see that I'm just going to let that bounce right off the side there. So there you can see I've got my cluster of tears. So I'm going to go ahead and do it again, coming up from the center. Coming over to the side, and just growing off of each last one. You can see that I'm just turning and going, taking my time. And just let yourself get into the flow. So you can see that I've had a chance to do these. I'm going to go ahead and finish up all of these. You go ahead and do the same. Take your time, enjoy what you're doing, and relax. So you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around, and it's really coming along quite quickly, which is really fun. So we're going to go ahead and start to work on the outside of our piece here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to work in these corners here. And I'm going to start by creating an aura that works all around in that corner. So you're going to see me lay down some dots in each of these little areas, and I'm just going to do what we call an aura. And you can see that I'm really taking my time with my lines here. Coming around that corner, and I think I'm just going to have to miss that dot altogether. And then I'll go to the next one and I'll do the same. So I'm just giving myself a place to land here. And you can see that I'm really close to the edge on these. Coming over here and doing the same. So I'm going to turn my tile, add my dots. You can see that I'm turning my tile and then creating that really nice soft aura. This pen is a little bit old, so it's giving me a little run for my money here. And then finally coming in right over here and adding my final dots. So you go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine, and then when we come back, we're going to add a tangle to put into these really fun corner pieces. And it has a really neat Art Deco kind of feel to it to have those corner pieces, and so we're going to play off of that just a little bit. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. Enjoy. So some of you may know this tangle. This is a really fun one that we're going to do, and it has a really nice Art Deco quality to it, and this is called a Ruckus. And it has the arc just like the Crescent Moon, but now we're going to come out from the center and create these rays of the sun. And then we're going to aura again in between to create this really cool Art Deco theme. And then we'll go again on each side of the original piece. And so it starts to give this feeling of underlap and overlap, which is really quite lovely as you build off of it. So that is a ruckus, or some people call it a ruckus, depending on how you feel with it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off to the side here, and we're going to come back to our little corners. I'm going to pick back up my pen, and I'm going to just start by coming into the corner here and creating that little crescent moon. Now you're going to see me come up towards the top and create the rays of the sun. I'll come out and over here as well. So I'm going to come over here and do the same. Now remember the idea of weaving, so I'm going to start to weave now. You're going to see me come through. And then I'll go to either side of the rays and add those in after I've done the horizontal pieces. Now I'm going to go again and create those little horizontal pieces. Now you can see I'm just barely getting it in on the side, but I'm weaving through. And then once again, I'm going to do an aura here, an aura here, here, and there. And that is really all it's going to let me do. So we're going to go to the next one and we're going to do the same. So I'm just coming in, doing a nice soft aura. And then doing an aura right here. Coming in. And one more time on the side. Once I have that, I'm going to start doing those horizontal auras. And now I'm going to come back and do a vertical aura. I'm going to come back in and do a horizontal one. I'm going to connect that. And that's probably going to be it for that one as well. So I'm just going around and starting to layer those in. So once again, nice soft arc, straight up with the rays of the sun, out, and out, and then aura horizontally, and then vertical aura, one more time. I'm going to go one last time right here in this corner. And then straight out, over to the side, and one more time. Horizontal aura, and then vertical aura. So that when we come together, look at how that has such a neat Art Deco flair, doesn't it? Really, really fun. So go ahead and finish up yours, and then when we come back, we're going to start to add some fine detailing into the center of the piece. So let's come to the center of the piece here, and you can see that I've got that little circle in the center. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm just going to make a half moon right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and start to puddle in the center. So I'm just puddling that in. And remember, with these micron pens, the lighter you go, the more the ink flows. So we really want to keep a nice light feel on that pen. And you can see that's already starting to draw your eye right in towards the center. So once we have that, we're going to start to move outwardly to these pieces that we have out here. And let's go ahead and zoom in on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to create a little bit of a puddling in here, but you'll notice that I'm going to leave the center with a little sheen of light in it. So if I turn the piece and I just start working with it, You'll notice that I'm not doing really solid bands of white. They're actually really kind of inconsistent. They have a feeling of randomness or organicness to them. So you can see that I'm just kind of laying that down as I go all the way around the piece. Working through the center and creating this sheen of light that's touching each and every one of those crescent moons. Now once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom out again, and we're going to give the same treatment to the Ruckus that's out here. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to go back into the center, and I'm going to do some puddling into the center of Ruckus so that we give the piece a little bit of congruency. It's going to feel like everything is related by the time we're done. Coming in. Working our way around the piece. So go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine. And then when we come back, we're going to start to introduce some elements of color. So before we add in any color, we are going to add in one more place of doing some puddling, and that's going to be right into the tips of the star. So you're going to see me come into the tip of the star, and I'm going to puddle that in as well. And I'm going to go around to each of these tips and bring that rich dark blackness into it. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, we're going to do one more outline before we do any color. Okay? Have some fun with this. Remember, with these pens, the lighter you go, the more the ink will flow. The more you press down hard on them, the more they're going to resist you. And the other trick that I like to use, and you'll notice this about when I'm working, is that I'm doing little circles. So if you have a tendency to do this kind of up and down quality, see if you can do little circles and notice if that gives you a little bit more density in the black. Okay? All right, have fun with that. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the upper portion of this piece here, and you can probably still see that I've got my pencil mark from when my original piece was starting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that original pencil mark to close off these little triangular areas that are in between the flux. And you can see that when I'm doing that, I'm trying to keep it as consistent as I can. And I'll go to the other side and do the same. So you're going to just see me start to turn my tile and close off those areas. And just turning the tile. Now once I've had a chance to go all the way around, you're going to notice that this is creating these little triangular pieces that are in between each flux. Well, one of the things that we are notorious for in the Zentangle world is doing these little puddling pieces where it's really going to change the whole piece just by filling in these little interstices. So you're going to see me come in and start to fill in just these little areas with a little bit of black. Now, what I want you to be aware of or to be mindful of is how much this is going to start to change the piece. So I'm only going to go halfway so that you can really see the difference between what adding puddling will do and what not adding puddling will do. There's a famous quote from Miles Davis, and you can see right in here, here's where my star is. I'm not going to puddle in there. I'm going to let the point fill it in. So the quote from Miles Davis is, he says sometimes it's really important to know what note not to play. And, leaving these little spaces where a tangle can breathe and have its own kind of feel, I think is really important. So you'll notice that I'm staying away from where the star is, and I'm just puddling in those interstices that are around those points. So really just being aware of when it's time to puddle in something and when it's not. And your artistic person or spirit will come in and you'll start to know when to do something and when not to. But look at the difference here between where I've added the black and where there is no black. Isn't this more compelling than over here? Over here it feels a little bit flat, and here it feels a little bit interesting. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to finish mine in this area. You go ahead and finish yours too. Remember, stay away from the areas where you have your star. You're not going to puddle there, but you're going to puddle in the rest of those interstices. Have fun with that, okay? And let yourself get into the groove. Let yourself just be fully immersed in what you're doing. So we're going to begin with color, but you can already see how different this is started out to be with all of that darkness towards the edge, which I really love. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to bring in some color into this piece, and you're going to notice that everything is going to be pretty high contrast in this piece. It's going to have a lot of pop to it. So I'm going to start with a light yellow and a orange color, and what I'm going to be doing with these two is using them to make our star really come alive here. So the yellow that I'm going to be working with today, this is the yellowed orange here. This is PC1002, but if you have the Spanish orange, I believe that's PC1003, that will work just fine. And then I'm also going to be working with the cadmium orange, which is PC118. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into where our star is here, and I'm going to be working on the right hand side of each of these rays of the star, and I'm going to start out by using the lighter color first. Now, one of the things that I want you to be mindful of is really having a light touch with your piece. Remember, each color pencil is 3 different colors. It's light, it's medium, and it's dark. It's all about how much pressure and saturation you put on that pencil. Now, for the way that I like to work with color, I like to layer color because it brings a lot of dimension into a piece. So I'm going to start by having a nice sharpened up pencil, and I'm going to work on the side of the pencil and do very, very soft shading into this little aura that we have here. Might be able to hear my dog. She's having a little water in the background. And so I'm going to go around to each one of these petals, and I'm going to just dust in a little bit of that yellow into the piece here. So really going nice and slow. Little circles will give you a much softer saturation of color than if you're just going back and forth like this. So you can see that when I'm using my pencil, I'm working on the side of the pencil and I'm doing little soft circles to really saturate the page. So it's not a dense shade of color, it's actually a really light shade of color. So once I've had a chance to go all the way around with that, I'm going to come in with a little bit of that orange. So I'm going to pick up the orange and I'm going to start to just come in right along this aura line here and give that a little bit of a dusting. I'm not pressing hard because that orange is actually really heavily pigmented next to that yellow. Once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go right back in with the yellow, and I'm going to do these little circles right over the top of it just to give it a nice blend out or blur of that line that was in there so that it really softens the whole thing up. Now you'll notice that I've left a little bit of yellow alone. If you have the white Prismacolor pencil, this is PC 938, you can come in right in where the yellow is the lightest and just add a light dusting of that white in there, and that is going to give this a really nice smoothing or blending effect. And you can see the difference now between here and here. So layering color brings a really nice richness into your tangle, whereas just putting one color down, it still keeps it a little bit flat. So let me demo that one more time for you. We're just coming in with the orange right over the yellow. Light dusting little circles. Picking up the original yellow. See that line of demarcation there? I'm going to blur it out a little bit by doing little circles with the yellow right over the top of it. And you'll notice that it softens up the color and gives it a little bit more of a smoothness. That's because it has less pigment and more wax. And then I'm going to come in with that white, and I'm just going to go to where the yellow is and really soften the whole thing up, blending it all in. So go around your piece and do the whole thing, and then when we get back, we're going to come in and start to add color on the other side. Have fun with this. This is really where the piece will start to come alive. I really love looking at a piece when it's starting to emerge, and I hope that you do too. Look at how lovely this is. I mean, even if we left it just like that, that would be kind of cool. But you know me, I can never leave well enough alone. So let's carry on, shall we? We're going to let go of the oranges here, and we're going to start to pick up a light green and a dark green. One of my favorite colors in the Prismacolor set is the lime peel green. This is 1005 in the Prismacolor set. You can see I use this so much that I've worn away the numbers on it. And then I'm also going to be working with the grass green, which is PC 909. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just using that same technique inside of where we did Sistar, and you're going to see me start to dust in that lime peel green. And I love the contrast between these two. It really gives a nice kick. And then let's go ahead and zoom in on this. So I used the lime peel green. Now I've picked up the grass green, and I'm going to do a soft dusting of that grass green. Remember, keep your colors light. We're layering the colors so that we get this beautiful outcome here. So really nice light layering. You can see there's my line of demarcation. I'm going to take that lighter color and I'm just going to start to dust over the top of it really, really lightly. And you can see that that's starting to give this a really nice soft blend. Then I'll pick up my white and I'm going to just dust in a little bit of that white to give it a little bit of that smooth blend that I'm looking for. If you're working with really toothy paper, this will help with that as well. But you can see how that's really going to pop. So let's zoom out there for a minute. Look at the difference here. Really got a nice gemstone kind of feel to it. So I'm going to use that green all the way around just like I did right there. So you go ahead and do yours and I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back we're going to start to let those colors emanate outward. Okay, so we're going to continue to work with these colors here. We're going to take those greens that we have and we're going to start to come into the corners here. So you can see that I've got the rays of the sun there. Those are going to be with the gold. We're going to go into the greens and we're going to just start to work in those negative space areas around the rays of the sun. So you can see that I'm just lightly dusting into where I have these negative spaces, and it's really going to help to define those negative spaces. So the reason why we're taking these colors to the outward edge is because we're doing a technique that I like to call carrying color. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow your eye to bounce from the center outward and then back to the center. Sometimes color can get chaotic, and I like to have a lot of balance in my colors. So you can see that I've picked up my green here, and I'm just going to dust in a little bit of that darker green. This is the grass green now, and I'm bringing it in towards the center. Right over here as well. And then you guessed it, I'm going to pick up that original green, that's the lighter green, the lime peel green, and I'm going to just soften up where that darker green is meeting the lighter green just by doing little circles right over the top of it. And already you can see that there's a lot of definition that's starting to happen. And then I'll pick up a little bit of that white and I'll start to blur out the edges. White is such a wonderful blender because you can continue to work over the top of it. And look at how really electric that looks. So go ahead and go all the way around and do your greens, and then when we come back we'll work with the oranges. Isn't that just lovely? I'm really enjoying this one. It's a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the corner again, and we're going to start to add in some of that yellow and gold. So I'm going to pick up the orange first. This is the darker color, and I'm just going to come right into the center here and just dust in a little bit of that orange right into the center. And you can see that I'm going fairly lightly with it. And then on either side of it, I'm going to pick up that lighter yellow. This is that yellowed orange, and I'm going to dust that in. Now I am going to come back into the center with the yellowed orange, and I'm going to just kind of give it a softening. So this is that lighter color that I'm just blurring out the edges with, but you can also see that it makes that orange so much more interesting. And then for the pieces that are on the outside, I'm going to pick up my white, and I'm just going to add a little bit of white to just soften up that yellow, almost make it a buttery color. So I'm going to go all the way around and do just that in each of those corners. So you can already see that this has got a really nice relationship with the center of the piece, and I just love the way that those two are playing off each other. We will be coming back to a Ruckus in a little bit for those in-between pieces, but we're going to use a different color for that. So let's talk about our next contrasting color and the technique that we're going to be using to get this really kind of 3D effect. So we're going to be using a purple, and I'm going to be working with the Dahlia purple for this. This is PC 1009. And then I also have this really pretty soft light blue. This is the light cerulean blue, and this is PC 904. And you'll see that these two have a really nice contrast that really will play off of each other quite nicely. But let's just talk about the purple for now. So you want to make sure that your pencil is really well sharpened up. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going with every other color in this piece. And the trick with this is just knowing where you're going to be putting the purple and where you're going to be putting the blue. And I tend to go from one side to the next. So you can see here that I'm up at the top, and I'm just going to look at it and I'm going to go purple, not purple, purple, not purple, purple, not purple, purple so that I know it's every other one. Okay? Now, the way that I'm going to shade this is I'm going to come in very, very lightly up at the top. And when I say I'm going light, I'm just tickling the page with my pencil. So it's really, really light. And then I'm just going to dust a little bit at the bottom. I'm going to skip this one and I'm going to go to the next one. Now you'll notice that I'm leaving a light source in the center. See how I'm leaving that light source in the center? And you can see that it's going to line up all the way through. So I'm going very, very lightly, dusting it in, and coming back. Skipping this one and going to the next one. And that's really the trick with this, is just knowing when to skip and when not to skip. So once I have that, I'm going to pick up the darker blue, or the light cerulean here, and you're going to see me dust in here and there. See how the pencil is working in a little circular motion? And you can also see how the light source is staying in towards the center. Also notice that I'm not being perfectionistic with it. It's kind of all over the place, isn't it? It's a little bit dancing. And that's really what we want from our light source, is to have it be a little bit dancy, not perfect. We don't want to have these hard bands because then it doesn't look like it's got a real sheen to it. It looks like it's a little bit artificial in that way. So the next thing that I'm going to do with this is I'm going to come down towards the center, and you can see I've picked back up my purple, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a harder dusting, and then I'm going to go up towards the top and give it a little bit of a harder dusting. I'm not pressing at maximum of this. I would say I'm doing a medium pressure. So you can see that I'm just going to do a little bit of a dusting here. And I'll come in over here and I'll do the same. And then I'll come back in with that cerulean and give this a little bit more. And a little bit more here. And really, if you don't have the same colors as me, it really doesn't matter. Just so long as you have two colors that are in the similar hue is going to really just do the trick. So now once I've got that in there, you can already see that that shimmer is starting to happen. I'm going to pick up that white pencil, and you want to make sure that it's clean. I've been using it with the yellow, so I don't want to get the yellow in with my purples here. And you're going to see that I'm going to come into the purple only this time around, and I'm just going to blur where the dark purple is meeting the light purple. You can see that I'm kind of blending out any toothiness of my paper, getting it nice and smooth. And then I'm going to clean this off so that I don't have any purple, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the cerulean. So you're just blurring out that line of demarcation and getting a nice blend. Now, one thing you can do is you can also come to where the lightness of the color is meeting the white, and you can blur that out too, so that it has a soft transition. And then I can come back into the purple, and you notice that I cleaned off the top, and I can drag that color around too. and you're already starting to see this really kind of circusy kind of color come to life here. And you can see that that brings such a nice dimensionality to the whole piece. So I'm going to go around all the way around the piece and do that exact same technique in each and every one of these little V's. So notice where your light source is and continue that light source in at the same area, and it will really give this a nice sheen. Okay, so you go and finish up yours. I'm going to finish up mine. This might take a little while, so take your time with this and really enjoy what you're doing. A lot of the time we tend to rush through, or we get it in our heads that we have to finish something. Take your time. This is all about soothing your spirit and enjoying yourself, okay? Nice deep breath, soften your shoulders, and have fun. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around, and look at how that sheen has really come to life. I really just did the exact same thing in each one of these, and it developed this really beautiful circular sheen that really gives this a pop. So let's talk about a Ruckus for a minute. What we're going to do is we're going to come back to a Ruckus and do just a really soft dusting of the purple in the top part of a Ruckus. And then I'm going to pick up my cerulean blue and I'm going to add a dusting of the cerulean blue, but you'll notice I'm going to bring a little bit of white right into that center area. Now you can come in and do just a little bit of darkness on the side of the purple here, and that will also give this a little bit of a pop. So go ahead and do all of your Ruckus just like that, okay? Have fun. Okay, so what I just noticed is that some of my Aruca has a little bit more auras to it, and some of them only have two. So I just alternate which colors I'm using. So I started with the cerulean blue, then I did the purple and went back to the cerulean blue. So you can alternate those as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to talk about the centerpiece that we have right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by creating a little bit of shading inside of the centerpiece. Now you can decide what color you want to have in your centerpiece. I think for mine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the blue for the petals, and then, or rather, the purple in the petals and then the blue around it. So this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to lightly start to dust in those petals, and I'm using that same concept of shading and leaving the light in the center. And then I'll come in towards the center and start to dip into the center with a little bit of heaviness. Now once I have that, I'm going to pick up that white again, and I'm going to start with the lightest area first, and you'll notice that I'm starting to blend this out a little bit. And then once I have that, I'll start to dip back into the darker color and give that a little bit of a bump. Now, if you notice that you lose some of that darker edge, you can always come back in and start to work over the white by just dusting in a little bit more of that purple. So I'm going to go all the way around and just do my petals first with this purple, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work in those spaces in between the petals. So you can see that that's brought a lot of sheen into the center of the piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to these little arcs that we have all the way around the piece. And I'm going to come in and just do a little bit of that cerulean blue, that same blue that we were working with out here. And I'm going to bring in a little bit of that sheen right in towards the center. So you can see that it's kind of mimicking what's below it. So as I go around, I'm going to start to bring in a little bit of that light sheen into the piece. So go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work with these petals in the center. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back in with that yellow that we were working with out here. This is that yellowed orange, and I'm just going to come in and I'm going to just lightly dust right in here and right over here. Notice how I'm starting to continue that sheen that's in the outer edge. So I'm just coming in and just giving that little sheen of light right in the center. And once I've had a chance to do that, then I can pick up the darker orange. And if I want to add a little bit of drama to it, I can add a little bit of drama just by coming in and adding a little bit of darkness to the outside edge. And you can already see that that's starting to pick up a little bit. You can pick up a little bit of that yellow and blur that out too, so that you don't get a hard line of demarcation there. Okay, so I'm going to go around and finish up mine. You go ahead and finish up yours too. So is that fun or what? I just love the way this is looking, and I hope that you do too. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things before we finish up. For those of you who love working with the white gel pen, I'm working with the Mizu Love one, but you can work with the Sakura white jelly roll, or you can work with the Signo white. That's also really wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come to the little places in our star where we have the little black points, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of white into each and every one of these pieces here. And so once I have that, it's just going to give a little bit of interest to the outside edge. Now, some of you might be thinking in your mind, oh, I have a little bit of an area where I colored outside of the line or whatever. These white pens are wonderful and can hide a multitude of sins. And so you can see right here, I have a little blip there where my yellow got outside, and all I can do is just come back in and just add a little bit of white over the top of it, and it just disappears. So if you're noticing those things, you can go ahead and play with the pen that way. Another thing that you can do with the pen is you can come out into the edges of the petals and just add a little bit of white into those petals just to give it a little bit of interest. You can see that I'm lightly turning my page here. And then if you wanted to, you could play and add it to different areas in the piece, but I'm feeling like this piece has got a lot going on, and it really doesn't need to have all that much more highlighting inside of it. So I'm going to pick up my Micron PN pen here, and I'm going to look for a little spot to hide my chop. And you know me, I do like to put it in a non-conspicuous place here, so I'm just going to go in and add a little chop right here in the corner. So that is going to cover it for our class today. I just wanted to talk about one more thing before we go, and that is that we have revamped the Tangled Yogi website. And if you want to go over there and check out all of the new classes that we have up on our videos page, there's also a link to upcoming classes that you might want to check out, and also the materials page is really fun too in the Tangled Yogi shop. So you can go to tangledyogi.com and check all of those things out. So thank you so much for joining me today. You can also find us on Facebook at the Tangled Yogi Art Community page. And if you join there, you can see what all of my students are doing. People love to share their work, and we all do different things in each class so we can really learn from each other. And I hope that you will join our community and check out what our students and other teachers are doing. So that's it for me. I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. Until we meet again, bye for now.